All right, we're live, folks. KJ Studios. It is a beautiful, beautiful morning in Las Vegas, and it's even more beautiful because I have this wonderful human being here with me. And we've been trying to make this happen for a few times.
We have.
And I'm glad that we made it happen. We were going to make it happen no matter what. But some of your reasons is like, oh, I get that. You know what I mean? But I'm glad you're here. You're doing well. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to the audience and tell them about you, Miss Sylvia.
Well, you did. It's good. I'm Sylvia Wolf, and I live in Las Vegas, and I'm lucky to know Kevin James. We have something in common. That's our alumni badge as being graduates of Leadership Las Vegas, which is an amazing program. Changes your life. It has changed so many lives.
Yes.
I don't know about you, Kevin, but it's changed my life. And it's been great. And I'm just here to just chat about stuff.
Okay, stuff. Well, I can come up with all kinds of stuff to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So I'm an Air Force retiree, right? And then, like you said, I'm a Leadership Las Vegas. I'm a Falcon, and you are
a dragon.
A dragon, wow. And you know,
and didn't a dragon drag a falcon to space, or was it a falcon took a dragon to space?
Oh man, so you know, okay, so I'm torn with this one, right?
Me too.
Because I have a dragon tattoo that starts here and goes all the way down.
Oh, you do?
Here, yeah. So my daughter's name is Keita, but it's a Japanese derivative. So it actually was supposed to be Kaida.
What's that mean?
It means little dragon.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It was meant to be.
Yeah. So I was supposed to be a class of 19, but I said no because I was going to go back to, well, because I knew that the program existed, and I understood there was a lot of an expectation of, hey, you're part of this program. You need to be part of this program.
Absolutely.
And I was like, well, I can't commit to that because I don't plan on staying. So it's like everybody says like, hey, go get a dog. I was like, no, because I can't give it the time it deserves.
Right.
I don't want to take it out.
Right.
And nothing irks if there's something that's a pet peeve of mine, don't buy pets and then don't take care of them.
I agree.
And so I tell people like, no. So I was like, no. But they always say that your class picks you. And what was meant to be was meant to be.
It was.
And it was the first time I applied, and I got accepted. So,
kudos.
I think what it was after the interview, because every interview I went in where I really, really wanted it, I didn't get it. Oh. Every interview in my life that I went into very comfortable saying, hey, you know, it is what it is.
Right.
I got it. But this was the caveat. This was the sticker, I think.
What?
So I went in, and, you know, I'm a military guy. I told you this, right?
Yes.
And I don't have a lot of nice clothes. I had one uniform for 28 years.
Jeez, Pete.
Oh, my gosh. So as I was time to get out, my wife, you know, it's like, hey, you got to start buying slacks, and you got to buy all this stuff. And I love Diller's Outlet at Meadowview. They got so much cool stuff. And I bought all this clothes, right? And I'm very OCD. So I'm wearing my nice shirt, the slacks, you know, I'm popping collars, and I'm feeling good. And I get to the PBS, and hi Deborah Salt, you know. They make me put this. Am I allowed to say bad words on my own podcast with you?
It's your own podcast, right?
Yeah, but would it offend you?
Not at all.
Okay, and I'm like, why you make me this fucking sticker on my shirt?
Sticker?
Right, so my name tag, I had that I'm a guest at PBS.
Yep, I remember.
So that was my first thing that was distracting my vibe. So I go in, and there they are, right? And they're super friendly, right? They're leaders. I mean, make you feel comfortable. Right. And they're like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, man, if I didn't have to put this stupid sticker on my shirt, I was like, now the glue's going to be on it. So the sticker became... I think it became a winning thing, though, and I'm going to get to that. So I go through the interview stuff, right? And I remember kind of saying this, and I think it was either Christina or it was Trey Scott that I was like, I'm going to do me regardless whether I'm accepted. So it is what it is, right? And on the way out the door was the trash can. Oh, I think they also loved that when I walked in, I said, hey, I want to put my cell phone over here out of the way. And they loved that because one of the rules is you need to be present and don't play with your phones, right? Absolutely. And look, here I am with my phone, right?
Put your phone down.
On the way out the door, I just wanted to get rid of that stupid sticker, right? So I take it off, but I do something that's very Kevin James, right? Like Dr. Seuss says, I wasn't born to fit in, right? So I take the sticker off, and I stick it on the outside of the trash can. I said, oh, by the way, I'll leave my name right there so you can see it every time you go call someone in. And
That's
they
classic.
busted up laughing, and I guess maybe that that's kind of the spirit they're looking for in leadership. And honestly, there are lots of characters when we are together that it is one enjoyable moment when we're together, and
really
the
is.
personalities and stuff like that. So, anyways, let's talk about you, not me, but
I have to tell you my end of my leadership interview.
let's do it.
Just real quick, I loved the interview process. I didn't know anybody on the table that was interviewing me, and they do that intentionally. Usually, if they can, they don't want anybody in your interview that knows you or vice versa. I have now since found out that several of my alumni friends recused themselves from my interview because they knew me, which I loved. So I was talking about who I was, and they ask you who you are. They want to determine whether you're a good candidate for leadership. And on the way out, I said to myself, I blew it. I just completely blew it. And I remember the moment where I said to myself, oh my God, I should have done this. And I didn't. So I walked out and I said I blew it. And as I was walking out, another friend was walking in who actually ended up in my class. We both got accepted. But he said, how did it go? And I said, I blew it. I'm done. I took off my sticker and threw it in the trash can. And I thought, that's it. I'm done. And then I got accepted. So you never know. They're looking for people of different walks of life, different cultures, different backgrounds, different careers, different age groups, men, women. It really is an amazing process. And I think I had a really, really well-balanced class. I really do. It turned out great.
I think the Falcon alumni just needed their own version of Shrek. Yeah. So
and you were it.
They were like, hey, this year we need a Shrek. So,
good job.
Here's the biggest guy. And I'm actually not. Brian Anderson is a big guy.
Oh, yes.
He's a very big guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, what was it? We were doing something one day. Well, Stuart, Stuart Ptsd?
I do.
So my life journey has Burton Hughes and Stuart in it.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm supposed to be the big guy.
And you're tiny compared to them,
And
right?
I'm like a midget next to them. And so one day we were walking out of the library, and I'm like this.
Yeah.
I was like, how does this work?
They're big guys.
So
Yeah,
anyways,
Burton's awesome.
man, thank you for joining us,
No, you're
Sylvia.
welcome.
Right? So you are a nonprofit
Nonprofit executive for 30 plus years.
and this is your baby. Like, is this your nonprofit you created?
No.
How did you land? What brought you into that world?
What happened was, so my father spent his entire career after the Army Air Corps, which was the forerunner to the Air Force, I believe.
It was our transition.
That's right.
Yeah.
So he was an Army Air Corps photographer. He'd hang out planes and take pictures in World War II. So after the war, he spent the rest of his life in his career in a television station, shooting news and editing and all that stuff. My mother was an actress. So my mother brought the theater and the creative arts to our family, and my father brought the photography. So I spent half my life in a theater and the other half of my life in a television studio. So, and I said this when we went through our leadership class, and I've said this to so many people, that I really feel like I had, and this is maybe aging me a little bit, but sort of a Leave It to Beaver life. We had a nice, brick home. We lived in a suburb of Oklahoma City. I was born in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
My two brothers. That's where my father landed at Tinker Air Force Base after World War II. And so my mom and dad, spent their life in Oklahoma City. That's where I was born. And we had, a small little suburban, literally just over the line of Oklahoma City in a little suburb, 3-bedroom brick house. We walked to school. We walked to the drugstore. We walked and got cherry Cokes, for a nickel and that kind of stuff. And we had bicycles. We played out in the yard. Totally different days.
Yes.
But that's where I came from. So as I grew up and my career started to launch, I wanted to be in theater, and I realized it's not going to happen. But backstage, I'm a backstage person. I never would have been an actress. I didn't have that skill. I didn't get that from my mother. So I wanted to spend my life in backstage in theater and stage management, that kind of thing. And then I realized very shortly, after I decided to get my degree in radio, television, and theater, that theater wasn't going to happen. So then I said, well, maybe I could work in television. Then I realized it's not going to happen because, they just don't pay anything and they work you hard and all that.
Right.
So I ended up, though, working in a production facility, doing commercials and those kinds of things and helping with the logistics and supply chain, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So one day, I got a call from one of the theaters I was involved with as a volunteer, and they said, "Hey, did you know that we produce we build the set and we helped produce the Easter Seal Telethon, which was a ragingly successful telethon once a year in the spring around Easter for Easter Seals, which is an organization geared toward helping people with disabilities. So I said, no, I didn't know anything about it. They said, well, we're having a big volunteer, conclave, a big volunteer meeting. Would you come? Because I was a driver. I was a doer. I got things done.
Yes.
So I went to this volunteer meeting, and lo and behold, 2 months later, I ended up producing that telethon for them. And then I went back to my real job, and the next year they came back to me and said, would you produce our telethon? And I said, sure. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I really didn't. I got some help from my father, and I got some help from people, and I had just a basic intuitiveness about how to get it done.
Right.
And so for 2 years, I produced this show as a volunteer, kept my regular full-time job, and then they came after me to come work for them full-time. So I went to work for them full-time as a special events coordinator, telethon producer, and they were leaving a small channel.
Got it.
And I was in Detroit at this time. And so they left a small channel, and then they actually were able to get a large NBC affiliate to get to produce the telethon and air the telethon for them. So,
holy moly.
So that was the beginning of my fundraising, nonprofit, special events, and telethon producing career. And then from Detroit, I've lived in 9 different major cities across the country working for Easter Seals.
Easter Seals, right. So I think I confused what you did within the health world. You are everything that is a dream for KJ.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You saw the AMC GameStop stock value?
Oh, yeah.
The way it did? Yours just shot out. It's always been high. I'm just messing. But it's the layers just, it's fascinating because it's, we were talking a little bit about this. This is just I think like a little, I don't know, like a dry skin scraping of what you have mastered.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I appreciate that.
And I don't think people can really understand the amount of time, preparation, educating, especially as technology evolves, the coordinating. And I learned it the hard way, a crash course, and I'm nowhere far to mastering it. And because I can relate now, right? And we could always go into leadership where I talk about academics versus experience.
Right.
Like I can read about it, but until I experience it, I can't. Now I slightly can be like, holy crap. So there's the bow. Thank you for what you do.
No,
that is awesome.
But what I really wanted to talk to you about, Kevin, today is near the end of that first series of events and things I did in Detroit. I spent 3 years in Detroit as a paid professional after I was the volunteer for them. Okay. But near the end of that, I had been diagnosed with cancer. So the real subject matter for me that I talk to people about, and I do some mentoring for people who've been diagnosed, is choices. Right. And serious choices that you make in your life. So I'm on a career path. I'm on a trajectory, and I know it and I feel it because near the end of that employment in Detroit, I had been recruited to go work for their national office. Okay. So I was going to be leaving Detroit and moving to Chicago as a single person by myself, that kind of thing. Although it was kind of cool because a lot of my family structure on my mother's side is from Chicago. So it's kind of cool. But serious choices that you make about your career versus your health. Interesting.
I can relate.
Yes, you can. I know. I don't know your whole story, and I can't wait to hear it. But so I talk to people about choices and about what you're being told by the professionals in your face and what your gut is telling you in your head. And the choices that you make and educated choices that you need to make about what you need to do, who you're going to talk to, how you're going to manage this while you're young and you're on a career path. And you're so disappointed that this is happening to you and you can't believe it. And that old, why me, which is just human. People say, why me? Because it's a human reaction. And why you is because you have decisions to make and you have choices to make, and it's going to guide the rest of your life. Yeah,
it's like compounded interest.
Yes.
So I think go-getters, especially go-getters who have a catalyst of being a servant to the community or a master of their craft. Right. One thing in life we take the most granted for is our health.
Right, we do.
And we do that. Like, no, my trajectory is this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be this, not knowing something's happening, and it'll start with you wake up and you just feel a little something.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe I should make a doctor's appointment. I'm gonna tell you I don't think I've ever said this on my podcast. I am so lazy. I don't like making doctor's appointments. So
you must be a man.
Yeah. So I'll be like, like I think I tore my rotator cuff like on this side a month ago, and my dad every day is like, so did you make your appointment yet? I'm like, no, because I've torn this one before, and I think if I just go slow and because it's time. I'm like, no, I got things to do, and that's going to take time.
Right.
And one day you wake up and you realize that it's well beyond
time.
Yeah, it's like or some things you can't come back from.
Right.
And so that I think that goes back to like, okay,
right.
Here we are at these crossroads that become, I look at it like from just what you said, what I've experienced, the crossroad hits here, then maybe it's a month or two later here, and you'll keep going when the crossroad hits every day. Like, I need to get some help, but I'm not. I'm going to go do this. So that's where I feel like I kind of chimed in. And all right, Detroit to Chicago and your health.
Yeah.
What was going on?
Well, so I had been diagnosed with something that I'd never heard of. I was young enough to not know anything about it. Words I'd never heard before, acronyms I'd never heard before. Acronyms I'm so glad I don't even remember anymore. But oh my God, I have this. What is that?
Right.
And from the moment I got my diagnosis, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm going to figure it out.
Are we allowed to ask you what this?
Yeah, it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, NHL, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which now that I know more about it, obviously, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma typically hits men more than women, and typically 50 plus. I was very young.
Okay.
I was
that's
female and in my 20s.
Yeah, you're not even supposed to be.
I'm not supposed to get it.
Yeah.
Unless maybe... like Jacqueline Onassis got it, and unfortunately that's what pretty much killed her. But she was, I think, in her 60s when she got it. A lot of men will get it in their older age, but if a male is going to get it, they're going to get it when they're 19 or 20 or 21, 22, and it's highly curable. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, if you're going to get any form of blood cancer, is one of the most responsive and one of the ones that is the most curable, which I am. But it's a very interesting story because my doctors had never seen anybody like me. They hadn't seen a female in their 20s with my diagnosis. So I was diagnosed on, so my mother had a round of breast cancer. And again, that was all new to us. What are lymph nodes? Where are they? How do you spell it? You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I learned a little bit along with the road with her. So as my mother had been going through her breast cancer treatment, which she lived through for 25 more years after that, I had discovered a little lymph node sitting on my collarbone. And it was just like this little round ball, you know, and I just let it sit there. And I thought, wow, that just probably broke away from the chain. No big deal. But after my mother had gotten through her treatments and her remission, she said, you know, she probably better have that looked at. Let's go see my doctor. So they took it out on a Christmas Eve, and then I got the diagnosis on New Year's Eve day.
Okay.
And I said, okay, so what does this mean? They said, well, we need to do some staging. You're going to have some tests. We're going to have to withdraw some bone marrow to see if this cancer is in your marrow. We're going to have to do a chest X-ray, CT, all that stuff. So after I went through all that, I had then been recruited to move to Chicago to work for the national office of my organization. But I had been in my television station one day, and there was a guest doing a morning show, a local morning show, and her name was Joy, and she had a column syndicated around the country in a newspaper called The Joy for Living, and her joy for living was because she was living with cancer. And I had actually met up with her in the ladies' room one day, and she said, if you ever get diagnosed, if you ever need anybody, and you ever live in Chicago, check out my doctor.
Right.
Well, wow, right? Wow. A year later, I moved to Chicago. So I'd gone through all my treatments in Detroit, and then I said to my doctor in Detroit, I moved to Chicago, and he said, oh, you should go see this guy. And I said, well, what about this one? He said, good guy. I moved to Chicago, I called that doctor. And that's how I kind of lived the rest of my cancer journey, was every time I moved, because I moved a lot, I would ask that doctor who they would send their wife or their sister or their mother to in the next city. So I had great doctors all the way through. And the choices I made were, life-changing. Well, you need to do this. And they would come at me with one voice. And I would say, I'm not so sure I should do that. And I learned very quickly at a young age to question doctors. A lot of doctors think they're God, have God complexes.
Yeah.
If they're good doctors, they don't. And if they're good doctors, they'll listen. And if they're good doctors, they're not offended by second opinions.
Yeah.
So
I call the bad doctors yahoos.
Yahoos.
You know,
I like that.
I call them yahoos. I don't know. Like, so I would now, most you're going to be like, yeah, I Googled it or I YouTubed it and they don't like that. And I know, and I understand that. And, I'm like, but you have power at your hand. And so you're curious. Right. And most searches will say, oh, it could be any one of these major things. Right. Right. But for me, with, most of my problems have been either my mental health or my physical.
Right.
Nothing that's really like, cancer or like, it's weird. Like my dad has Parkinson's and out of nowhere, it got really bad. And then I thought, one of my deployments, I was going to get that call from the Red Cross to come back. Didn't happen, but then he got the brain stem.
Oh, yes.
And it helped control it.
Oh, great.
A lot. But things happen out of nowhere. So for me to reference, usually it's going to be like, well, hey doc, like I've torn my left shoulder. I kind of know these symptoms, and this is what I think I need. And, for me, a lot of it is just me saying, dude, like, let's just skip past steps 1 through 8. Cause I know what needs to be done.
Get me there.
Let's just get there. And they, and there's a method of the madness. And for them, they're like, I'm the one who went to school for all this, not you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the contention. So the good doctors actually listen. The ones they will actually make you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I agree. So I will share this story with you. So I had to have bilateral hip surgery.
Oh my gosh.
I've had a ton of surgeries, but for 5 years, the doctors were just saying, oh, here, Motrin, stretching. You got to stop playing basketball. You got to stop lifting, blah, 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 blah. And I remember going to this one doctor because I was getting to a point where I'd stand up to go walk and I would just fall.
Oh my gosh.
And
wow.
So I remember sitting there and here comes this female major lady. She's like, all right, Sergeant James, drop them. and I remember telling the story just that I was like, I was torn between embarrassment and making an inappropriate comment.
Right.
I was like, I've seen a movie about this before, I think. And so, but as funny as it was, so she does some stuff. And I'm kind of doing one of those, like,
I know. Don't look,
and I'm like, but she says, all right, we need to do an arthrogram. And I'd never heard what that was before. And so I was like, well, what's that? She was like, well, it's an MRI, but we're going to inject ink into your hips. Yeah. And 2 weeks later, I get a call back. She said, you need hip surgery on both. She was like, you have no labrum left. Like your labrum's so torn up, it needs to be shaved, and your femur neck needs to be revised. So the way I'd genetically grown, the bone on this side needed to be shaved that way. So if you imagine this is the hip socket or however, the bone here had grown on both my hips to where it just was tearing all the labrum up. Gotcha. She was like, so they have to shave the bone away. And I was like, what a surprise, And so, but for 5 years I'd been saying something's wrong. You know what I mean? And it was like that, whatever mentality of progressiveness. And if you don't have a continuity of care.
Yes.
And the Air Force was very good at that because of our deployment tempo. So doctors would deploy and then you'd go to a doctor and it'd be someone else. And if you move, it's almost like the process starts over.
Of course.
And I think sometimes on the medical side of the house, while I love doctors, I absolutely, never would badmouth them. But if there was ever something that they would want to know, like why people feel that way, it's like the arrogant ones.
Yes.
Like you can't trust the diagnosis of the last guy.
Yes.
Like you want me to start over again?
They do.
And so anyways, So they made you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
How is that testing go? So I was going to ask you like, what was the symptoms? What did you feel? And it sounds like you answered it. Your mom said, hey,
this little lymph node on my collarbone.
So how, was it just super tiny?
Oh yeah.
Or?
Well, when a tiny little nugget is under your skin, the skin and everything around that makes it feel bigger. So it's couched.
Yeah.
So this tiny little thing is now couched, so it's bigger. So it felt smallish.
Okay.
But it was actually smaller than I thought. It was because it had all that skin and other stuff over it. So it was like a little nugget sticking under my skin.
So
but it was a lymph node.
Here's another true confession.
What?
So I'm the kind of guy who grabs knives and blades and just sticks them into those things because I'm thinking it's a cyst or a pimple. Like
Really?
I am. I would be like this, like
I need to leave. Oh my Oh my God. You would do that?
if I could share some of the things that well, I mean, just I'm a dude. I'm like, it's just got to be a boil or a pimple. It's like what a big deal. But I did have I have a when I was a kid, right by my ear, I have a lymph node that's swollen.
Oh, do you? All the time?
And it's been like that since I was a kid. And they said, well, because I didn't understand it, and sometimes it starts to hurt.
Yeah.
And it gets a little bigger, then it goes away. And they were like, oh, your body's fighting off.
Yes.
Like it's fighting something off, but don't worry about it. We're not worried about it. And I was like, dude, I can literally feel this thing sliding around, right? Uh-huh. Well, like one day I got curious and I started trying to like stab at it, and it wouldn't go in. The needle wouldn't go in there, right? And I was like, I give up. Yeah, of course. But this was years ago. I mean, when I was younger, right? And so and now I'm like, okay, I've just gotten used to it. But I know like there's some other places where I can feel like I know when I'm going to get sick. Yep. It's really weird.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
I have one here. If it swells, usually within like a day or two, I'll get sick.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed actually. It was really weird. A year ago, so it's Corona season, right? So we just talk about this, and everybody thinks they may have had it. I don't know. We both are vaccinated.
Yeah.
I got deathly ill in February last year.
As COVID was coming in.
Yeah, and I didn't want to blame Burton Hughes because I had my Subaru. So this is a true story, and I talked to Burton about this. I think I told Burton, right? So have you ever been to Subaru Las Vegas?
I have not.
Okay, so you see my baby out here.
Yeah,
right?
I love him, but I've not gone.
So every time I go get my Subaru maintenance, I've got to see Burton.
Of course.
Like this guy, man, is like, if you're feeling down, he's just a beacon of just light,
he is.
And I'm like, dude, man, like I'm more of I'm not a Jedi. You know what I mean? I'm more like a dark Sith.
He is amazing.
And, I had eaten 2 apples. So Subaru Las Vegas has the best that I've seen. Like, they got ices and sodas and granola bars. Nice. And I ate 2 apples, right? Cause I was on, I try to manage my weight. I do really bad for a long period of time. Then I do really good for a short period of time that equalizes it. And then I get big and small. I'm like an accordion.
Yeah.
And I ate 2 apples while I was talking to Burton. And it was like either something on the apple or whatever. I don't know. But I was immediately like on the way driving home. And I hadn't missed work in 15 years. I called my office and I said, something's wrong. And I went to them and I went to the ER and I like had a really bad like headache. I couldn't breathe. Like all the symptoms that were listed under COVID. They were like, well, you have viral pharyngitis. I was like, what's that? And they were like, oh, don't worry about it. And I was like, well, this is the thing. My dad got hospitalized. Everybody in the family got like deathly ill. Dad was in the hospital for a week.
Oh my gosh. And
I was like, I wonder if we got it. I mean, because we've not had nothing through COVID. And, they're like, no. I was like, listen, I have sleep apnea. I stopped breathing 75 times an hour.
I get it.
My dad's old. My mom's old. My wife was pregnant with my son.
Right.
So there's no baby masks for a 6-month-old, right? So he's out exposed all the time.
Of course.
And I said, but it's mutated so much. I was like, is it possible you think that we had a strand that was at its weaker? A whole family got sick, but we built enough immunity to it. I was like, because I said I haven't stopped going to the gym. I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't breathe as it is all the time, anyways. So they're like, hey, do you have problems breathing? I'm like, yes, all the time. I'm like, I don't know if it's allergies. I don't know if it's because I ate too much Taco Bell. Like you name it, I can't breathe, right? And so now we're navigating today to where it's like, we're trying not to get complacent.
Right.
I absolutely will mask up. I respect anybody's. Remember when you came up, I said, hey, are you hot? Where are you at? And
wear the mask until then.
And
so your Apple incident, was that something unique, or do you think it went away and it just became, I wonder if I had.
I got so sick, and I haven't been sick since then. And I don't get sick often. Like
That's so
I think I have a really strong immune system. I work out twice a day.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get sick that often. I'd missed work in 15 years. I missed a week.
A week.
Yeah. Like it was, and it was weird. And I get, I get migraines, but this one, like everything hit me. It was weird. Like I would just sit in a hot shower on the floor and just try to navigate through everything that was hitting me. My joints hurt real bad, my lower back, I couldn't breathe, headache. I wasn't eating, so I wouldn't know if my taste was impacted. And and then next thing you know, my wife got it.
Oh, wow.
And we think that because she was pregnant with London, they share the same, right? But babies are the safest in there. So and my kid, every one of the kids, because there's 8 of us in here.
And y'all felt like crap.
Yeah, my mom don't get sick. She got super sick. Dad got hospitalized because we took him to the Aliante ER. Yeah. And then they transferred him to Mountain View. Mountain View,
yeah.
Right?
Right.
And I was like, Burton, what's in those apples? Like,
oh my God, the poison apple.
Yeah, so that's my story.
Oh my gosh. It sounds very much like all the COVID symptoms. You got
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting here like,
wow.
Like, well,
wow.
I don't know. And so we've been fortunate as far as, getting through this. We'll see, they say it keeps mutating, and that's why we need to get the vaccinations, and, and when you asked, you had said, hey, I got my vaccination, and I was like, me too. It's the first one that I ever had that I was apprehensive.
I've been a little apprehensive too. Yeah.
Right. And my wife was like, really? I was like, babe, I've had 18 anthrax cycles.
Oh gosh.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, I was like, give it to me. Right. I was like, I don't care. I'm not scared. And I was like, wow. As I get older, I get a little more nervous because when I was younger, I was invincible.
Of course.
Can't touch me. Now I wake up in pain. Just about every day. If it's not my hips, it's my foot. If it's not my foot, I just took migraine medicine today. Yeah. I almost
didn't come because I woke up with a headache.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
I made a choice.
I'm so glad
and
you're
I'm so
here.
glad. Me too. I feel much better.
Do you?
Yeah.
So guess what? We both did. And it's funny because when I dream hard, I wake up and I can already tell that it's coming.
Yeah, me too.
And so, my thing is I'll drink a water, a Coca-Cola, and take 3 Excedrin migraines.
Oh, wow.
And usually if I catch it early, it will, it'll peel off. Right. And so, we were blessed with that. So, okay. So we got to get back to you. Oh, right. And I'll tell you, so one thing is, I don't know what's going on with my camera, but it shut off and now it's back on. So, but the red light's not on. I don't know what's going on with it.
We'll figure it out.
We'll just do all audio most likely. And I'll make cool pictures of us.
Okay.
That's the KJ Studio way.
KJ
right?
Studio way.
Shit's fucked up all the time, right?
So what? You just go through it.
Yeah, and and someone was like, dude, that's what makes it fun though, is when you catch that stuff. And I've learned more from mistakes than I have from perfection. And I was
thank goodness.
I was like, well, that's how you become great, isn't it?
Right.
I was like, so I had an interview just before you had showed up, and it was funny. So he's a veteran. Okay. He's called the Comeback Coach, and he's out on the East Coast, which is perfect because I'm in the gym super early, and I'm like, dude, like I'm ready to rock and roll before 7.
Absolutely.
So this is a lessons learned if anyone out there is ever doing podcasting. So he does Anchor Live. So we do the podcast right onto Anchor Live.
Wow, got it.
So he sends me the link, and I wanted to talk through the Roadcaster because then I could add like the and all that stuff.
The fun.
And we kept losing audio to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel so bad, right? So I figured this out because I think people like us are thinkers. Like, I'm not going to just be like, c'est la vie. No. I wish I could be sometimes, but I can't. So the whole time I'm trying to
move forward.
Move forward with him. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, right? And so he's like, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed, blah, blah, blah. You know what it was? So I was talking to him on my phone. Right. So he sends me a phone via Facebook Messenger. I click the link. I log into Anchor.
Yep.
Guess why my voice kept shutting off? Every time my phone would sleep. So I said, dude, we just learned a lesson. I was like, when you have interviews, tell them to go into their settings and make their phone set.
Screen, right? The
Yeah,
screen lock?
so every time it would go to screen lock, I could hear him.
He couldn't hear you.
He couldn't hear me, and we had to restart the podcast 3 times. And
lessons learned.
And so here's Mr. Ethical Kevin, like, dude, your shit sucks, man. I didn't. I told him, I said, hey, dude, I said, I know why this happened. He was like, why? What happened, dude? I was like, he's such an awesome guy. He's like, I was like, because my phone kept going to sleep. And because I do my interviews via phone, just phone. Like,
right.
if you weren't able to make it, I'd be like, look, let's just do a phone call.
Right. Right.
But I'll just call you.
Yeah.
When you're comfortable.
And you can record it.
Yeah, and I'll record it. But his is live on Anchor. And I said, I don't do that because I can add sound effects. I get to put my intro in there. And anyway, so okay.
Good to know.
Health and choices.
Yes.
Health and choices, right. So I would like to believe that based on your experiences and you being the anomaly, right?
Very unusual.
Somehow, some way that became a why or a charge for you. And you want to talk about it, right? And I don't even think we've gotten to the meat of what people need to know. So let's pick up of that, right? So they remove it, right?
Pathology.
And then shifts in life.
Yep.
Changes in life, right? How much of that is a driver in who you are today? And it's always everything is connected. Everything's connected, right? And how much is that had to be a catalyst, a pivot moment. Let's go back to that. Like, okay, so they find out everything's good because you're still here, right? Did it become a mantra to educate people? How when you see a young Kevin James, like okay, so here's a good scenario, right? You have your story. You have a paradigm shift.
Yep.
Then you hire young Kevin James, up and coming, inspiring podcaster.
If I were only so lucky.
Yes.
See?
Right?
Good answer.
And I don't take care of my health. Like, nope, Sylvia, nope. I got to learn this, and I got to this and that, blah, blah, blah.
I'm busy.
Inside, that's got to irk you a little bit, right?
It does.
How are we developing our young audience out there who right now, no one ever wants to listen to us who's been down the rocky road, right? Like, just give me the parachute, and if I fall off the cliff, hopefully it works. So how do you navigate that today, and what is your driver today?
Well, my driver is that from a very young age, and when I was assaulted with all of this, potentially horrifying information, and all the things I was going to have to do the rest of my life to make sure that I was alive. So I was focused on, if you don't have your health, you have nothing.
True.
And so, like when you were talking about your hips or your shoulder or the things that you've had to deal with, if you don't have your health, you have nothing. You might have money, great. If you don't have your health, you can't spend it. You might have a great job, but if you don't have your health, you can't go. If you don't have your health, from the beginning of time and until the end of time, if you're not healthy, then you're not wealthy. You can't live your life if you don't have your health. So focusing on my health was, I was confronted with it. I had to absorb it. And from that point forward, it was all PMA for me, positive mental attitude. I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm going to listen to the doctors, and I'll do what they say to do right now, unless I think, there's something going on here. I don't feel good about that. I'm going to trust my gut. I'll do research, or I'll just move on. Right. I have fired doctors. I have actually sued a doctor. And won that lawsuit.
Oh, very okay.
Because he was exactly what we've talked about. Arrogant, Yahoo, God complex.
Is it talking about now or what was off camera? Or both?
Both.
Okay. Well, that's important, though.
Yeah.
You have history.
Yeah, I have history.
To understand why elitist mindseted, lacking open-mindedness, what you have to say is not relevant. I'm the expert.
Yeah. Yeah, and I trusted my gut. And when it came to those kinds of doctors. So I moved through this, and I did the chemotherapy that they wanted me to do. I said no to radiation. I said no to certain drugs. I said I love this doctor. The first doctor that ever put me on chemo, it was oral. It was a pill. And I lived in Chicago. And I said, I can't start doing that. I'm going to the White Sox game tonight. And he said, take it with a beer. Have a good time. So from that point forward, I loved that guy because he got it.
Yeah.
He got me. He got it. Live your life. Making choices, making decisions, but live your life. So that's what I did until things got a little bit worse over the years with my health. And then I was facing a bone marrow transplant.
Whoa.
And that's pretty scary.
Okay.
Because you don't know what it means.
Yeah, I don't. So I'm asking you what, like, I've volunteered. I've volunteered my marrow.
Good.
And I think it gets rejected. They're like I've never gotten a call back, or maybe there's not a match, or
that could be it,
or something like that. But
I was very lucky. I didn't need a donor.
Okay.
You can actually be your own donor, which I was.
So they just harvest it from somewhere else?
No, they harvest it from me. I had it harvested twice.
Okay.
When I lived I lived all over the place. I lived in Dallas, and that doctor said, to his credit, you know what? We should probably start harvesting your marrow just in case you need it someday. And I said to myself, I have no idea what that means.
Got it.
I still didn't know what that meant, even though I'd lived in 3 other cities before that. So I went to Baylor University in Waco, and they harvested my marrow, and they kept it. And the doctor said, okay, well, now we know where it is if you ever need it. Well, long story short, 3 cities later, my disease had progressed to the point where the thing about non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is it's a blood cancer, and it's in your lymph system. So when you have a lymph node expand like the one you're talking about in your body, the only thing that helps that, the pain of that, because they are extremely painful, is chemo. So I would go on another chemo regimen, and they would shrink the nodes, and and steroids. I was on steroids off and on for 20 years.
Did you get nauseous? I've seen the stories. I mean, it impacts people differently.
No? I never got sick. And I never missed a day of work.
Oh, so I don't know if you know this. As soon as you said chemo, I got nauseous.
I understand that.
It's really
weird. The mind
weird.
is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, you just said it, and I automatically defaulted to something I saw in the movie where they were nauseated and throwing up.
Yep.
And there's 2 superpower, nausea and migraines. And they're both connected.
Yes, they
right?
definitely are.
Okay, so you got the chemo. Sorry to interrupt, but I had to say.
That's okay. I'm so glad you told me. The mind is an amazing thing. A word can affect how you feel.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It's true.
And that goes back to what we talked about before we went on.
That's right.
There's so many connections. Remember we were talking about all the layers
and words matter.
Stuff? Oh, my gosh. Yes, they do.
Words matter. They have an impact.
You got me thinking about some things. We'll talk about it another day, but because you were like, with that?
You? Really? Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't think about a lot of, but this is what we're talking about in leadership. Yeah. Come to the table.
Yes.
Be open-minded. Speak your truth.
And experiences. You've had an experience where that word has an effect. It went into your brain, and your brain went, oh, I don't like this. I'm going to shut down.
Yeah. And so imagine if,
experiential learning.
We're kind of talking about politics, but
we were talking about politics, but we're not going to talk about politics anymore because we don't agree about politics. Mostly,
we do though, because I didn't think about it. Didn't click with me how many people may have been impacted, just like how I got nauseous, and why there's such an emotional response to something that triggers them to feel a certain way.
Experience.
Right. And so that's
stimulation.
That's huge, but that's depth.
Yeah.
And there's only so many people who are capable of speaking on a level of depth versus being shallow and it's just everywhere. I'm going to take that one. That's a big one. It really never dawned until we just experienced that. I feel like I should be able to, but I can't. Not with my job. That's a London Porter.
Oh my gosh, London.
Yeah, you know London, right?
Yeah, of course, he's my class.
Right. So my son's name is London.
Yeah, I know.
And
he thinks you named him after him, right?
It's almost really.
Almost?
Honestly, yeah. So when I met London, it was at our very first day together, and I can't remember what it was. I know it was during Halloween, and I was wearing my ballerina outfit with Nate, who's married to Elizabeth, who's also a dragon, right?
Yes, exactly.
And there was just this there was a energy connection, right? And I think a lot of us can pick up on energies, right?
Yeah.
Like even today, because my head was hurting, my mom said, she was like, yeah, you look like you have a cloud over your head. And it's because I'm like scrunched my eyes and I'm trying to, and so just so you know, I'm growing my hair back to do cornrows part 2. Yep. My wife is absolutely against it.
Okay.
So I had to shave.
Yeah, just shave.
And I am always, because I love people, And you don't grow until you put yourself next to someone who is so much more elevated than you on certain different things. And I'm fascinated by people that I'm like, ooh, you know, like I told you, you're talking about your background and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like,
and yours is to me, because I don't have any of that in my life.
right. And guess what? That was one of the lessons from leadership was like, they were like, oh, look at the planes. Right. And I'm like, them things set my car alarm off all day long. Right. And to me, I'm like, I don't like it.
And they're coming from different places.
But if you gave me a backstage tour of a casino, or if you took me to your nonprofit, or you took me to this, or you took me to that, and I've never experienced it before, I'm like a kid in Toys R Us, which, I mean, are there any more, those anymore? Remember when we were kids, you go to Toys R Us.
I know.
And it felt enormous. And then I became an adult, and I was like, this store is small. I was like, I thought I was in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory when I was a kid.
I know.
So
that's how I felt about going back to my high school. Boy, that locker is so tiny.
yeah.
It shrunk.
I went back to mine, and
did too.
the quad where I used to think it was like this, like I got to go from here to there.
I know.
In 5 minutes, and then I went back as an adult because I needed my transcripts. I think because I was going into college or something like that. I'm a very late bloomer.
Got it.
When it comes to college. I looked. I was like, this is like my backyard.
I know, it's 2 seconds from there.
Yeah, I was like, why did I think it was so big? In the library that I was a library guy. Like I didn't hang out with folks, so I literally would get chili picante corn nuts and a soda every day, and I would go into the library.
Yeah.
Because I just was fascinated with whatever I could just flip. I'm a picture guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm also a little jerk. So I'd write these little stupid notes and I would jam them in a book thinking one day someone would find it. Like my own little versions of time capsules.
Yeah.
So if anybody's ever found anything at Cordova High School, that was I don't know what I wrote. I can't remember, but it was me.
It was you.
Right? So, yeah, you know, we take so much for granted. And so, and I know I deviated off and I apologize.
No, it's good.
And so would you say there was a success story from what happened with you in your life? And you're a leader.
I'm a leader.
Right? And you see the signs, or you've heard it, right? Young Kevin James, right? Like, did you have anyone who just wasn't receptive? And how do you navigate that? So let's say someone like me is just like, no, I'll make the doctor's appointment later. I'll make it later, right? And you're like, hey, Kev, you know, like, I'm speaking from experience, right? And there's no wealth without health. You said it.
I did.
That's your statement for the day, right? But I'm young. I'm invincible, right? For me, I'm gonna tell you, I'm the type of leader to be like, listen, dickhead. I'm gonna take you there physically. Have you experienced that? And if you did, how did you navigate that? Because I know the younger audiences, and I'm believing all our leadership people listen to that stuff. How do you like? It's like, what is it going to take for me to get through your head that I've been through this,
right.
and the mission is going to happen.
Yeah. I think, and I have faced this with colleagues of mine in former employment. I faced it with my circle of friends where, I mean, I worked in DC with a gal who would say to me, oh my gosh, you're going to go see a doctor? Oh my gosh, you're going to tell the doctor that you don't agree? Oh my gosh, how could you argue with the doctor? Oh my gosh, I can't go see the doctor. And she seriously needed to see a battery of doctors. She needed a dentist really, really bad. She needed to go see a girly doctor really, really bad. She needed to go see a general practitioner, internist, really, basically, adult medicine.
Right.
And she would bristle, and she was shocked that I had conversations with doctors. She was shocked that I would fire a doctor. She was shocked that I would tell them, nah, I don't think so, which that's one of my favorite things to say. Nah, I don't think so. I love saying that because if I really, truly believe that. So at some point, you can lead a horse to water. I mean, the cliche applies.
Right.
Kevin, if you're not going to go to a doctor, I'm going to take you, and then I show up, and then you're going to say, get the hell out of my house. That's not going to work. All I can do
But if you bring a gun.
Well, maybe, but I would never do that because I don't have a gun, and I never will because that's not where I live.
So you get snow?
Do I get snow?
Remember, I just made that post. Everybody thought it was funny. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, we don't get snow in the
don't
hood.
Get snow. You know what? I got like a salt sprinkle of snow.
Okay.
But no, we don't get guns in my hood. But the truth is, if I say to people, your health is your wealth and you can't live or do anything if you don't have it, and so many people don't understand that your dental and oral care is directly connected to your cardiovascular care. If you don't take care of your mouth, the infections that you can get are directly connected to your heart, your cardiovascular system.
Got it.
And all of it's connected. How you talked about mental health and a pain in your knee. Oh my God, my knee hurts so bad. Oh, I guess I'm not worthy. Your mental health and your physical health are connected.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
It's all connected. That's how we were made. Everything's connected. So if you don't take care of one, you're not taking care of all. And so that's what I've said to people. Your health is your wealth. You've got to go to the doctor. You've got to take care of yourself. There's nothing to fear about finding the right professional for you.
Right.
You know, I've left many a doctor because I didn't like them. I don't like them. They don't deserve me as a patient, and I'm not going to sit in their lobby for 2 hours anymore, or I'm going to send them a bill for my time.
Yeah.
Because my time is valuable. And I have said that to doctors before as I've walked out the door and saluted them and said bye-bye.
Yeah, I'll go find someone else. There's always someone else out there.
There's always somebody else out there, and there's the right people for you. And in Las Vegas, where we live, I've had challenges finding the right doctors. Now I feel like I'm in a really good place with my adult medicine, with my dentist, with my girly doctor, all of that. But there's also other things that have happened in my life that have led me to go, I don't think so. I'm not going to do that. And it's turned out to be the right decision. So I trust my gut and I take care of myself. Not in always. I'm not a specimen of perfection at all. None of us are. No. But I take care of the things I have to take care of, and I do it in my way, which is what I say to the people that I mentor and the people I talk to is, and like I did with leadership, I was all in.
Oh, yeah.
I was all in. I did everything that I could to experience every single level of our leadership experience.
Right.
And I do that with my healthcare. Everything that I need to do, I'm all in.
You're supposed to be. We're in Vegas.
That's right.
All in. And, you were speaking of doctors because I really wanted to, a Dr. Hakimi.
Yep.
Right. I really wanted to do the Netflix healthcare.
Yeah.
But it's a hard sell. And I know her perspective, and I really like her.
She's amazing.
But I'm like, look, I got free VA for life and TRICARE. Like, it's hard for me to justify,
concierge care.
Yeah, it's hard. And, my wife's like, so this is how it is. I like to make the money, but I do not get to account for the money. I send a formal request, and on an occasion, I just make a command decision and face the consequences.
You've been trained.
Yeah, I just, I'm not good with money. I have no problem working. Right. I have no problem making it. Right. But my wife keeps like, I'll get paid. She'll be like, oh, it's already spent. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how's it already spent? Because we use the cards that, generate the points and all that. And she's like, well, don't you remember this, and this? And this is like, oh yeah. She's like, well, who do you think's paying that? And I was like,
Yeah, right. It's good to know what you're not good at.
But I wanted to go back to something you talked about because this is about me, right? So
sure.
I manage my PTSD by working out. Mm-hmm. But
good for you.
I also manage the negatives of my PTSD when I get down by eating.
Okay.
And think about the cycle, right? So like I want to achieve a physical look.
Right.
But then when I get down on myself, I go eat.
Interesting.
Right?
Yep.
And this is the important part about what you're talking about. And this is what hit me the hardest in the last 2 years. My body is not able to keep up no more. Because I'm having my joints tear and, and I'm just in pain all the time. And so this is the first time when who was I talking to? I think I was talking to London, right? Because he was talking about psychedelics and how it's helped with PTSD and transhumanism and all these different things. And I'm like, it might be time for me to consider because, medicine evolves.
Yes, it does.
And saying, okay, like I can't handle feeling like, so you remember I told you I woke up feeling like I was going to get a migraine?
Right.
That's what the medicine that they gave me from a mental health made me feel all the time. Even after my surgeries, asking my family, I don't take my pain meds.
You don't.
No, I manage my pain really well unless it's a stomach ache or migraine. But I'm usually pretty good managing pain anywhere else where I've never post-surgery had to take my Vicodins or anything like that. I just like, usually get to the cabinet and I'm like, what is this? I forget, right? But I think that's important because one day our bodies are going to remind us of that's not you no more, right? And so I tell you, I walk around. I used to walk around the gym and be like, I can't nobody whoop my ass. And now I walk around the gym knowing my lower back hurts, right? Yeah. I'm trying to put the game face on, right? And my son and daughter wake up with me, which I'm very proud of. At 4 a.m.
4 o'clock,
right?
Yeah.
And they hate it sometimes, but the amount of people who are watching and being like, you are an engaged parent and your kids come with you. And my son will be able to tell because I'm very strong. I'm still a beast. I can't really deadlift or squat no more. I just can't. That's why my legs are I'm not proportionate like I used to be.
Right.
And he can tell because when I'll grab like a weight, I'm moving very slow. And while mine's a little bit different, I took for granted stretching. I took for granted, being mobile.
Right.
It was just ego lifting. I can lift the planet. And now my body's like, nah, brother. You know what I mean? Like, I would recommend you. I can hear my body. I'd recommend you not lift that today. And then I go do it.
You're going to do it anyway.
And then I can't turn my neck for a week,
And so the vicious cycle is I want to work out and I want to stay fit, but if I don't, I'll eat. But if I eat, I'll gain weight. So I'm going to go back and do things that hurt.
Then I'm hurt at eating.
Both ways. So which little voice are you going to listen to? The one that says you probably should leave your body alone, or the one that says if you eat this, it'll taste really, really good?
Well, that's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
So the first quarter of COVID, I listened to the pantry because the gyms were closed.
Yeah, of course.
Right. I was eating and I was Netflix binging and I was in hog heaven.
We all were just sedentary as crazy.
Oh, Sylvia, you should have came over and hung out with us.
Oh, we should have.
You should see our pantry's got everything. My dad is a very much shop in the middle of the store guy.
Oh my gosh. I love him.
I'm telling you, like it's tough. Like.
I'm glad I wasn't here because I would have been right there.
We would have been chilling, trust me. And you're always welcome to come over.
Well, thank you.
And we are very happy, harmonious family when guests are here.
I love to hear that.
When guests are gone, we're very much like a normal TV family, right? We're not the Beavers. And so I'm sitting there. And I'm just killing it because I'm like, look, the gym's closed. So that's the thing, right? Like, if I'm on vacation, I kind of am okay with I'll enjoy the buffets and there's no gym. I'm here on vacation.
Right.
So the gym was closed. There was nothing I could do. I was trying to lift my weights in the back, but I can't. Kevin James needs the environment.
Yep.
That's why there's no gym in this garage. Like if I'm just me, I don't get into it. I have Travis, Travis, right?
Yeah.
He heard me on one of the things I said, no, I still size guys up in the gym. I need that alpha male kind
Connection.
of like, oh, okay, hold up. Now watch me.
Yeah.
And I'm double your age.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm looking at him, right? While my shoulder hurts.
Like crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's your ego.
And it's okay. You know what I mean? Like,
it's good.
And so I'm sitting on the couch. And I think I was crushing some like fiery hot Doritos or something like that in a soda watching. I'd never watched Yellowstone. My dad watched it.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Like, awesome. And so my wife comes down and so she's Laotian. I don't think you've met Lynn.
I haven't met her.
Lynn is like 4'9".
Yeah. Yeah.
And Asians cook like the whole freaking Mongolian army is coming. I'm like, it's just me.
Well,
eat it. And so,
Okay.
But she came down, and so it's hard to maintain diet. We eat a lot of rice, and we eat a lot of, and I'm meat. I love beef and pork, and you throw meat in front of me, I'm eating it.
carbs for me.
Right? And I love
Just give me
carbs, right? I'm sitting there, and she comes down, and she's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Why are you hating? Like, why this? You're gonna understand. I'm like, why you ask that question?" She comes down, she says, "Hey, do you think any of those new clothes we bought for you fit?"
Whoa.
And when look, elastic.
Uh-huh.
I'm a gym shirt. I'm in a loose clothes. I'm like,
Eating pants.
My elastic fits. And so she goes, do you think it, for real? She was like, do you think it fits? And what do you think a woman would say? Go try it on. And I hate trying shit on.
Right.
Like, I'll buy something off of a WAG, a wild ass kid. I'm like, oh, it fits. Yeah. And I'll get home and I'll be like, crap, I got to lose 10 pounds. And she's like, why didn't you try it on? I'm like, that means I'd have to take my pants off. Men are just, can I say that? Yeah, I'm going to say it. We're just lazy, right?
Yeah.
So,
generally,
right? Yeah, like, nah, like, the old, like, go ask for directions.
Yeah, don't do that.
So she goes, no, why don't you go up and try it? I'm like, no. So like that moment, I put the food away and then I started walking like 5 miles. I would get up and just got out and walked, and it was the most amazing thing. Yeah. I'm a hoodie guy even in the summer. I'm the one guy in Las Vegas when I'm going to the gym, I'm wearing a hoodie in the summer. So when I was deployed, you lift weights and it is hot.
It's hot.
Right? I mean, and Qatar gets hotter than Vegas.
Oh, of course.
Right? And there's actually memes of the sun, Earth, and then Qatar, like right next to the sun.
So we should have a Summer Olympics in Qatar. Wouldn't that be a good idea?
Oh, yeah.
Which they are. I just don't understand.
Yeah, it is blazing hot. And so I like feeling hot, but it's also good for my joints.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
To stay warm. So anyways, I got through about 2 months of it and cleaned my eating up, and I was good. And I kind of stabilized, and then I think 2 weeks before Christmas. So my dad is the family Christmas dessert maker from the family recipes, right? He makes the cookies, and my dad's gotten older now, and so he still made the cookie dough, which I haven't gotten into it. My wife says she's going to try to learn to say good because I'm not making it, and those are like more of the shortbread ones.
Delicious.
And my dad was like, he tried to make fudge and he didn't do it right. And he was really upset. And so I was like, all right, my dad wants fudge. I love my dad. Let me try to make it. And so the first batch I made, I didn't really follow I think when you can make something without recipe cards, but then you have to write it out, the way you write it is not necessarily the way someone who doesn't know how to make it should read it.
Correct. That's true.
Because there's an element of instinct and experience.
Yeah.
And so I'm reading through it, and I went to culinary arts school in Germany.
You did?
I did. So I have secrets too. Oh,
you do have little secrets.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk to you about all those secrets.
So I know what a mise en place is, right?
Good for you.
Right. So I know whenever I'm cooking something new, to make sure my ingredients are laid out.
Mise en place.
Right. And here I go. And here's my dad.
Looking very sternly.
And I outranked my dad when I retired. So sometimes we joke and I'm like, go away, Master Sergeant. Right.
I'm the chief.
And yeah, but he's really, first of all, in a house, my wife is the real chief.
You betcha.
My dad don't care. He don't care. So he's standing over me. He's like, well, let's see. And my ego is like, oh, trust me, it's going to be good. So I'm, you put the evaporated milk in, and the sugar and the marshmallows, right? And you gotta bring it to a boil. This is where I messed up the first round. You got to bring it to a boil, and I missed the part that says let it boil for 7 minutes. I let it get to a boil, and then I mixed everything else in, the peanut butter, the walnuts, the chocolate, the butter. So I did it several times, and it looked beautiful. Pouring it into the pans and all that. And I'm always proud. I'm like a little puppy when I make something, because I think that's the beauty of cooking.
Yeah, it is.
It's you want to appease someone else.
It's like gift giving.
Yeah. And so, moment of truth, right? So you have to pour it in the pans. You have to let it set. We freeze it because it tastes better. The fudge is just a lot better when it's frozen, right? And so here's my dad cutting it. He takes a bite, and he's like, little sandy, right?
Sandy.
So the sugar was still granulated, right?
Of course, it didn't boil.
I said, no way. And so I was like, oh no. Like I started whipping all the ingredients out immediately.
Again.
To redo it. And
because you tasted it too, didn't you?
Yeah, I tasted it. I was like, crap. I was like, I knew I tried making something years and years ago, and I didn't let the sugar, because you don't want it to get to a crack state, and you don't necessarily want it to caramelize.
Right. It has to be perfect.
Right. And that's the beauty of, I've never mastered it, but remember I said, if I couldn't necessarily appreciate who you were and your experiences until I started just to dabble in it, then it's like, oh my gosh. And so people who can master sugar and desserts, like, don't think it's so easy, and there's so many things you can do with sugar. So anyways, I made it, and it was the bomb. I was like, okay, let it boil. And then I realized I was like, just taste it a little bit.
Yeah.
This is tied into why I gained 12 pounds between the 23rd of December to 2 January.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, like it's so easy to grab a little cube of it and pop it in. And so I mastered that. And then he's like, he goes, I think you should try to make Rocky Road next.
Okay.
And so I did, and it was good. And I still got a few more ingredients in there that, like, he likes it a certain way, but then I try to dabble and make it a little unique and stuff like that. Anyways, we are way off. We were way off course, but I think it's awesome to talk about eating sweets and carbs.
It is.
It
is.
And
why not?
I tell people, I'm like, I'm like, I got a family, I got a wife. I was like, my desire to have abs is gone. I said, I just want to feel good.
Feel good.
Yeah. And I said, what the way people dress in the winter, with slacks and stuff like that, it's admirable to me. But I never really, if ever in years, had the physique again to get there. So usually through the holiday season, I'm like, yeah, man, I should really cut back this summer. But anyways, okay, back to health and stuff like that. And I don't know how much time you have.
A few more minutes.
Okay. So what else? What else? So I'm going to say this. I'm going to throw something that's thought provoking out there.
Okay.
The dragons have been badass.
Badass.
Right? The dragons have blessed this studio is about as much as the Falcons have.
Good.
And I'm super grateful. And all of you guys have this energy about you, but there's some depth. I'm sensing it. Every person I've come across that's a dragon, there's like this little element of depth, right? Like with London, it's talking about like transhumanism.
Oh my gosh, he's a really interesting guy.
Right, and Elizabeth with her story, right? Yes. I got to get Elizabeth in here.
Oh my gosh, you do.
And you with I'm sitting here like literally talking to, so one of the people that is one of my favorite people in the world is Dan Paletta. And you literally...
I am a huge Dan Paletta fan.
Yeah,
I've met Dan 2 or 3 times. Dan was actually engaged at one point to help an organization I was with create extreme fundraising. Oh my God, he's otherworldly. He's otherworldly.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
See, we're both groupies of him.
Yeah,
Like,
I love Dan Paletta.
Yeah,
He's amazing.
I got to, so that leadership provided me an opportunity to be invited when he was at Red Rock last year.
Yes, I was there.
We were both there.
Yes.
Did we? I don't think we. I think there was a Leadership Las Vegas. So people were there from leadership at a Leadership Las Vegas table, but some were there in their own.
I was on my own, but you're right. There was a leadership table.
Yeah,
but I was there as a guest of someone else. But I would have been there if I had to crawl to see Dan. He's quite a change agent and great thinker and gets it. He can just nail you in the nonprofit arena.
Yeah. What do you think his why was?
I don't know what his why was. I don't think he ever talks about the why, except I think he was an event participant,
right,
in certain nonprofit events like the walk or the run or the or whatever it is, and he saw opportunities for change, and he saw opportunities for growth, and he saw opportunities for changing the way people think for his own reasons. And then he thought, well, maybe if I feel this way, maybe a lot of other people feel this way. And so he started to very methodically and very strategically think through his experiences and then kind of funneled them into a philosophy and went to his first friendly neighborhood nonprofit that he loved and said, here's what I think I can do for you. What do you think? And ba-boom.
Yeah.
He's the guru.
One of the things that he talked, like, so literally like 3 pages of notes are in here are from
St.
him.
Dan, yeah.
Him, and then the other one's from one of my alumni who drew penises, and he vandalized my book. Like, if you think I'm joking, it was
you. Oh, there you are.
It was at government day, and I was going to give my speech.
Yes.
And I left my book there, and I came back. I didn't know it happened. I was actually in a class in the Air Force with a colonel sitting next to me going through this, and that popped up, and I slammed the book down shut.
Too late.
Well, because I'm not very organized when it comes to stuff. And I said, when I got this, I said, okay, anytime I do a professional development, I need to keep it in one thing. I'm very much, look.
Yeah.
Like
I'm a Post-it note gal.
Okay, so say
all over the place.
Bad habit of mine is like, hey, when I took notes. So Dan plotted, right? He highlighted. This is what stood out to me amongst the many brilliant things he says.
Yeah.
He said, and it bothered me because it's this question I asked you when we talked. I said, do I take this as an LLC or as a nonprofit? And he talks about like how nonprofits with their boards are scrutinized for their overhead for a mission that is probably more important than the philanthropy route.
Right.
Where like, you have like the CEO of this business makes so many billions of dollars, but let, any other nonprofit out there just make more overhead, but is filtered back into the mission for research or X, Y, and Z, and they're scrutinized.
Right.
Vilified, right? So what's your stance on that? Because we both like him, and you've done fundraisers, right?
My whole life,
right? Your whole life, right? So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously, I think he's spot on.
Yeah, he is spot on. Dan has nailed it about how we, as an American public, and we'll just talk about our country, vilify nonprofits when our CEOs make 6-figure incomes. Yet we don't care at all when the CEO of IBM makes outrageous amount of money, and then everybody underneath him barely makes a living. And the money that's, and what he says is so good. He says, we should want our CEOs of nonprofits to make bokus of money, because if they're making bokus of money, then it's all being driven down to make community impact.
Right.
Why not? If a CEO is managing a $200 million nonprofit, doesn't that CEO deserve to be making a good 6-figure income? Because he's built that income, he's built that business.
Right.
The difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit is stock. We don't have shareholders.
Right.
We don't have typical stockholders. We don't have shareholders. Our stakeholders are the public, our boards, the government, and our recipients of our service. Right. So why shouldn't we make good money if we're doing good work? Why should a CEO of IBM sit in his ivory tower, or CEO of anything, sit in their ivory towers and not be giving back to the community when our CEOs are vilified in the nonprofit sector for making really good money for doing good work?
Yeah, I almost got scorched I made a comment. I was like, because it was kind of a knock towards the philanthropist route.
Okay.
And I said, yeah, you support the community. I was like, but isn't it easy for anybody to just say you just want a tax write-off? You know what I mean? I'm like, it's so easy to write a check, right? And that's not fair, but I think it's a fair speculation of where your heart genuinely is, right? And that ties into what you were just talking about, though. I said, in the nonprofit side, they're not wealthy. Right. I mean, you got a great title.
Yep.
But you're not wealthy.
Right.
Coming from the Air Force, if you lived in your safe little bubble that I did for 28 years, you just hear CEO.
Right.
Like, ooh, CEO, right? And that means you're someone. And you are someone, right? Because let's be honest, right? Your income doesn't make you any better or worse than any other CEO.
No, but there's been some challenge and some education and some experience to get there.
Right.
I honor that.
But I guess it's just one of those things where I'm like, the person, there's a little more authenticity when the person does it without worrying about the dollar figure behind it. Mm-hmm. And that's where the need is. Mm-hmm. But is there minus, like, I don't disagree with Dan. Is there, though, kind of a need for one another? Like, you know what I mean? Like, while you may question the heart of the CEO of the business, who cares? Like, if you're given to my cause, whether it's for tax write-off or not, who cares? Because it still benefits our cause in the community. And is that gray area?
I think that the disparity and the criticism comes into play when you have a nonprofit CEO making, outrageous. Let's say they make outrageous money, because some of them do make really, in my perspective, outrageous money, and there's none. But let's say they're making way, way, way good money.
I see where you're going with this.
And nothing is coming back into the community. So the greed factor has to be looked at, and there needs to be some real management and some board involvement when you have a CEO. Let's say a CEO is making $500,000, and some do. Let's say a CEO is making $500,000. Is that in line with the budget of the organization, or is that a huge percentage of their income budget?
It's like margins.
Yeah.
If it aligns with the size.
If it aligns with the size and
impact.
And the impact they're making. So if a CEO is making $500,000, but the budget is $300 million, and they're putting $295 million back into the community. So good for him. That's what he should be making. Good for him, because he's built the team, he's built the infrastructure, and he's making sure that the mission is being served.
And that's execution.
It is.
I mean, that's like your report card.
Exactly. But you could have a CEO making $50,000, and that's all they do. They don't do anything with their mission. They don't do any service. They don't do any direct service. They don't do any support. And they do nothing, and they're just collecting a $50,000 paycheck. Well, I think that's just as wrong as a $500,000 CEO not doing anything as well.
So this is what I'm going to, I actually didn't even realize this until I was talking to someone, is because I went and got an LLC. Right?
Okay.
I am the lowest paid CEO
on the planet
of this.
Because
I'm
the
lowest.
CEO.
I get, is that false though? If it's my LLC, am I the CEO of it?
Yes.
And I have no income. I'm not monetized
You're
yet.
not monetizing. You're not taking a salary.
I'm the lowest paid CEO. But I'm a huge philanthropist because I'm sharing everybody's story. I'm giving to the community.
You are giving to the community.
So crap, I'm not so bad.
You should write a check.
I didn't even know. Well, because
you're not a nonprofit.
No.
You did not create a nonprofit, which is like so many people say, "Oh, let's start a charity." Well, what for? Is there a need in the community? What are you going to do to serve your mission? So I tend to talk people out of starting nonprofits when in fact there's no rationale to it. Yeah,
when I was toying with the nonprofit side of this, it was going to be focusing on the gaps that I feel like I picked up on leadership, was to create an opportunity for some education and training, especially when you're talking about some of the people in the shelters or the prisoners, like, Freedom House and stuff like that. Cause they were talking about, they're like, okay, where do they learn job skills, and where do they, and I think I got, plus I don't get nervous about a lot of stuff. My wife had actually messaged TED Talk and said, I wanted to nominate my husband to be on it. I didn't know she did that.
Wow. And
so, cause I don't think of myself in that light. And people are like, you should. I was like, no, it just is it's a good, what's the word I'm looking for? It keeps me humble.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It keeps me hungry to grow. I'm more of a throw me in the water with the sharks and we'll see what happens.
Swim.
Right. And so she's like, no, I really think you could get up there and talk about your story with you're an Air Force wounded warrior, your PTSD from I ran mortuary affairs in combat.
Did you?
Several times besides all the other stuff I've done. Yeah. And I was like, crap. Like, if my wife thinks I'm good enough for this, I can't just respectfully decline, right? I'm like, I wanted to. I got scared. Yeah, I did. I just said I'm not good enough for that.
Do you have? Do you have a story laid out that you could? I mean,
yeah, because I'm an ambassador. I don't take the time.
You're a great conversationalist.
I think so. Yeah. I think my strength is that. I think my strength is impromptu. My strengths are not writing out
a speechy thing.
Yeah, I just don't do because I came up believing that was inauthentic, and that's not true. I think it's like if I have to script it so much, then it's not really from the heart. I mean, it came from my mind, and these are true events. But where is the passion? And maybe there's, if I took more Toastmasters, they would say there's a way to bridge that, though, Kevin.
Bring it all together.
Right. There is a way to bring it all together.
Right.
And Kevin James, younger version, is too arrogant to believe that. I'm like, I'm not self-made, but I'm fairly self-made, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm just like, look, I'm retiring from the Air Force. I'm going to smoke weed, get a grill, get cornrows, and I'm going to live the gangster life.
Okay.
And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever, dude.
Whatever.
I wore cornrows for 22 hours. I don't know if you saw, I had my hair braided.
I did. I saw.
And 22 hours later, it hurt too much.
Are you going to do it again?
I am, but I know now that when I talk to people, because I'm very much a research guy, and I'm like, come on, that couldn't have been right, because I said I had this many braids back, but only 2 really hurt. And it could be a border like I'm a punk and I'm a wuss, or it could be like legitimately sometimes when people braid, sometimes the braids are a little tighter. Yeah,
they just weren't done well, I guess, right?
Sometimes like it's like if you're trying to flip an egg, right? And even the best chefs, I'm assuming sometimes, if they're distracted in some way, they may break the yolk or something like that. And so absolutely would never say that about Ty. I love her. But I would say that because I'm not used to it.
It's new.
And it's new, and I don't necessarily know the left and rights to say, hey, I can tell how tight this one is. It's going to be too uncomfortable for me, so can we loosen it up just a tad? And so I think it's like going to the weight room, like you lift, and it's like, oh my God, that sucked. I'm never going back again. Because, when people when they're new and they lift, they're like, oh, I'm never going again. I'm like, dude, I don't even get sore no more. I can go lift for 2 hours and I don't get sore. But I know because I'm afraid to hurt myself, so I don't push myself to those limits anymore.
Because
Right. But I was conditioned for it. When I remember I sat on the couch for COVID first quarter, when I went back to the gym, my body wasn't conditioned for it no more. And it would cramp and stuff like that. But yeah, bless her heart. I actually am toying with the idea of, because I'm trying to figure out how to build this brand, and I'm sitting here doing all these interviews, and you probably saw I created another one, Behind the Ranks. 2 military spouses who are doing a show for military spouses. I have another one lined up. But I thought about once I can get this cleaned up a little bit, making it look like a stage and seeing if there's leaders who want to look like they're on, like a Kev Talk, so to speak.
Oh, very cool. I love that idea.
Yeah, so maybe you'll come back, and
maybe
if I have a mic and my camera will work right, then I got to figure out, maybe it's just the thing's full. I don't know. It was really weird. It started acting weird on the last time I used it, and I kept plugging it into my computer, and it kept shutting down. So
that's odd.
I don't know what's up with it. But I was like, that might be cool to have leaders come in and
Kev Talk,
tell their story, or
absolutely. There's a lot of stories out there and a lot of very articulate people. I mean, I think my first guest would be Elizabeth. She's remarkable.
Oh, sorry, Elizabeth. Guess what? You're on the spot.
Remarkable.
And we should say, like, we should try to blackmail, a little essence of blackmail. Say you lose your dragon status.
Her wing. She's our dragon. She's our golden wing. So she could not be a golden wing if she doesn't do your Kev Talk.
Oh, are you an advocate with me?
Oh,
you're
absolutely.
A professional at it.
So
I'm going to tell her on Facebook and tag you and say, hey, guess what?
Yeah. You've been anointed.
You don't have to wear the mask. So I don't know if you noticed the puppy play mask.
I didn't.
To your right.
I don't
know if you saw the Thanksgiving video I did where I put that on. So it's.
Jeez, I don't remember.
So there's the story of this. So New Orleans Square is where I go get my hair cut.
Okay.
And that's where the green door is.
Oh,
and all
right.
the freaky shit.
Yep.
And I didn't know that. I still don't. I learned so much history about Las Vegas during the leadership program, which is
absolutely.
I loved. My wife actually got tired of every time we went by the water district, we talking about the Springs Preserve. She's like, you tell everybody about that.
It's amazing how much interesting stuff there is in our city, but interesting, hidden, fascinating stuff. I know some stuff I never even thought could have happened here.
And so when you're starting this, you're like, what kind of content can I get, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to do for Ty, we were going to record me getting my braids and my haircut and all that.
Yeah.
Well, there was a new store called Cocky Punk,
Cocky punk.
Right. Okay. So here I am with my 16-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
And we get closer. I said, hey, Jesse, let's go into this store. And he's like, Dad, the mannequin is... So you know where I'm going with this, right?
I do.
And I said, come on, dude, don't be... So for him, he's like, it's too, I guess, sexual oriented, and it's father and son.
Father, yeah. Being weird.
And I've never been. I'm like, dude, whatever. Come on, let's go. And we go in.
And it's all that.
Oh, and there's like a mannequin with a strap on, and there's balls and mouths, and my son is like,
oh my God.
He's like, what is this? I was like, give me a break. You know what this is. I'm sure you're in your room behind closed doors on your Instagram and all that crap. But this is like, you're immersed into this world, right? That we,
Innocence broken.
So I'm looking up on the top shelves and I'm like, what the hell is all that? Right?
Yeah.
And it's called puppy play. He's like, so people, there's these little societies and they wear the dog masks.
Yep.
And he's like, it's not always sexually, it's not sexual all the way. Sometimes people just, they're into this shit.
Yeah, right.
And I was
like, domination.
So I said, if I buy it, will you let me do content in here? Right. And he's like, yeah, sure. I was like, dude, it's free advertising for you. It ain't costing you anything.
Right.
And
said yes.
So yeah, he said, yeah, sure. He's like, just don't record this. And it was like an array of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
And so here's Jesse. We go in there and we do all the content, blah, 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 blah. Buy the mask. Of course, my wife's like, you're going to take that back, right? I'm like, no. I'm like, you can't do that. I'm very much a gentleman's agreement kind of guy.
Okay.
Like, no, I paid money for this and they said I could do this. Now that I got this, I shouldn't return this.
Right.
And she's like, well, we're not that bored in our life yet to where you need to wear that, right? And I said, no. I said, we'll just, I said, it's kind of fun, right? Did all that stuff to realize my son forgot to turn the mic on.
Oh, my God.
So there was no sound.
Oh, my God. Oh, no.
So all you see is me doing, blah, 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 and X, Y, and
stuff.
Z. And so, like, we didn't know that when the Rode mic is connected, it has to be turned on and that this one shuts its speaker off.
Yeah.
Oh
gosh.
Anyways, but let's say like this. What final words of inspiration would you have, right? Like, I mean, it could be anything, right? I mean, obviously it's like, hey, don't ignore your body and focus on the mission.
Definitely.
But it's a beautiful Friday. It looks like the weather's going to be great.
It's changing and beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
We got to hang out.
We got to hang.
We both almost had headaches.
We both almost did.
Well, you said you had one.
I did. And then I took my little drug and I got in the car. And you are 35 miles from me.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. So where did you come from?
I am way southwest and you are way northwest.
Oh, my gosh. I'm sorry.
No. I loved it. When my GPS said, you have 30 miles to go, as soon as I got on 215, I went, oh, cool. Because I was driving west and the sky was breaking and I don't get a lot of alone time.
Okay.
So I love being in the car with my Broadway channel, listening to my Broadway musicals, which I don't get to do unless I'm in the car. And I'm like, honestly, I loved the fact that it was 35 miles, but I was shocked that anybody lives 35 miles from anybody here.
In Vegas?
Yeah, because it's not that big a place. But you know what? It is that big a place.
So are you like...
Southwest. I am Rainbow.
Okay.
South of Blue Diamond.
Okay. Because I'm still... that's close to Burton then, huh? I mean...
I don't know where Burton is.
The Subaru of Las Vegas? I mean, is that side of town?
I don't know where he is. Is he 215 in Rainbow? Is that where that Subaru is?
Yes.
And I'm about 3.5 to 4 miles further south.
Okay. Because I know, like...
You know where the IKEA is?
Yeah.
We have a big IKEA?
Yeah.
Okay. 3 or 4.5 miles further south than the IKEA and 3 miles further east.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because this is IKEA.
Oh, yeah. It's beautiful.
So
yeah.
Okay.
I loved being in the car. I loved driving here. I love being with you. It's so much fun. And got me out of the house. And the cool thing is, from here, I'm going to go deliver food to people in need in our community for delivering with dignity. And that's one of my.
wow.
That's what I do now. I do twice a week. I deliver with dignity.
Well, maybe one day I'll jump in with you if you're good with that.
You can be my co-pilot any day.
Okay, because I made a charge to some folks this year, and I said, it's really awesome to see your memes about leadership. And it was okay. This is the smallest scathe we can go into politics, and I promise you we're on the same page.
Okay, fine. We'll see.
No, I promise you we are.
Okay.
I said, less posts of philosophy and more pictures of you out actually doing. See, it's on.
Yes.
It's not on camera, but that's. I said, listen. I said, because I'll go back into the story where I remember I told you I got thrashed.
Yes.
I said, my energies are going towards the folks who need help right now, who don't got time to wait for all this mess to clear up.
That's right.
And so like I went out with Julie Kane last weekend and was handing the food out, and I brought my daughter.
Did you deliver dignity? Is that what that was?
No, it's the oh my gosh, now I'm on the spot.
Did you do a pop-up grocery
yes,
thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
But whenever I do it, I bring my kids.
Good.
And my daughter, it was so funny because I was standing there, and my daughter, like, my kids are very oblivious to I think emotion. I'm like, are y'all robots? I started crying out there. Now, of course, I'm a man, so I'm trying to hide it a little bit, but my eyes, like, they're just ready to explode.
Right.
And what provoked that was I'm standing there looking at this food, and I'm looking at my daughter, and I'm looking at these people in a line.
Yep.
And I'm like, man.
Something wrong with this.
I'm like, this whole week I've been stressed out about what rims to buy for my truck.
Yeah.
Just being fully transparent,
That's
right?
real life.
And I said, and my daughter sees me. She's like, what's wrong? I said, have you ever woken up in the morning and seen Dad gone to be told by Grandma and Grandpa that he's out in line with a cart to just get some food? And she's like it's like she has no idea why we're there. And I'm trying to connect. Right. Connect the why.
Dots, right.
And I always bring my kids because we lose sight of gratitude real easy if we do not stay immersed in an environment that provokes us to you better be grateful.
Right.
And I think I made that on my post. I said, I have never had to wait in line for food.
Right.
I mean, you see, we eat ribs, and I mean, I am, and even though I feel like, I'm like, look, I serve my country, and that's not enough for me. You know what I mean? It's not, you know what I mean? That's why I didn't stop, and I didn't stop doing this stuff. It's because I was like, God didn't give you what he gave you so you can go right off into the sunset and live this great life. And I'm not saying I should live, anyone I'm willing to help. I don't know everybody's stories, right? But I brought my daughter out there, and she's like, why are you so emotional about it, though? I was like, because what if I couldn't provide for you?
Right.
I was like, I don't think you get, when you're a parent, you inherit a whole lot of other emotions, and that goes to today. Social media has made me so scared based on kidnappings, Amber Alerts, technology, that we don't see our kids playing outside no more.
That's right.
That's
right. Like, I grew up in my front yard with bicycles and neighbors, and we walked to the store and walked to school. And
And so my wife doesn't understand. I won't watch those movies where kids are kidnapped.
No,
I won't. No. I can't. So I'll share with you my PTSD real quick. Okay. So my son was born the same year I went to Iraq and dealt with death.
Okay.
And that was before FaceTimes and iMessages and all that.
Right.
And it made me very, very, very hypersensitive to. I'm always worried, like something's gonna happen to my kids.
Of course.
Always worried, and I'm blown away because my dad would drop me off in the middle of the ocean with a floaty, and he'd be like, "Oh, you'll figure it out." It's amazing.
And you did.
The paradigms between my dad and I did though.
And you did.
But I know for a fact, and my wife is a lot more bold. Right, that's the Dan Plata. Are you bold or bored?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Yes.
She's a lot more bold. I know I have handicapped my children, and I'm seeing it now by being too protective.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like my son was like, so if you came in here, if you remember, you passed a Denny's and a gas station, and there's McDonald's in and out over there.
Right.
It's literally walking distance.
Yes, it is.
My son would be like, hey, Dad, I'm going to walk to In-N-Out with his friend. I'm like, huh? I'm like,
what?
You can go to the driveway. And I've had to learn. It's so hard for me. Like I'll be like, okay, and then I'm sitting here and I'm looking at my phone at his location to make sure the dot's still moving and stuff. Like it sucks ass. And that's where I could relate like with Elizabeth and others if they told the story, like when you go into that dark place or we have our own little things. And so yeah, we're doing our best, and at the end of the day, I know that that I need to get out there because it's always nice. And so that was where I said, I said, let's just see some more pictures of you actually in action. I was like, that's really awesome. You know how to talk it. And I do tell people that, and I would never say that about Dan. But I do say it about some other leadership people. Dan is he is like, I share his TEDx the most with people.
Amazing.
And I can watch it and still pick something up out of it, and his tone. I think he's mastered it. Versus like Simon Sinek, I love him too. Mm-hmm. But I've also said, I was like, but I've never seen you lead anything. Yeah. And so that's a part of me is like, cause it's like, Dan Plett did the AIDS walk.
He's
like,
walked the walk.
He's done it.
Yes.
But I've never seen these guys. And I think that leadership has become a marketing, it's become diluted.
Yeah.
Because everybody's capitalizing off of leadership.
Right.
Right. And so I created, I think I tried to invite you. There's some people I invited and the Facebook messed it up. So I created a group in Facebook called Leader-ish.
I'm in your Leader-ish.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's right. So in Leader-ish, and I just made it public because guess what? Everybody didn't get invited.
Thank you. I feel flattered.
Yeah. I did not invite some people. Going back to some other conversations, I'm like, no. And someone today asked me, he was like, because I posted this morning, I said, hey, I see leaders posting stuff on their pages, but like, why aren't you share the wealth? Yeah. And that it had so much traction. Yeah. And I also I also created another post for a chief network I'm in that was very, 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 very
blatant.
It was like dropping a grenade.
Oh boy.
And I started reading through the comments. And I was like, I got to stop because I had to prepare and keep a good, positive mindset. This is a rock from London that brings good energy.
Oh, nice.
To the studio. So one of my friends was like, well, I just didn't really understand the direction, what the intent was. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, it boils down to one thing. I said, I think there's no such thing as leadership no more. I said, you can have two leaders who are proven, qualified, certified, bona fide, great leaders. And you can say, drink that water. Your job is to inspire people to drink that water. And Sylvia's going to say, do it one way while I'm going to say another. You're going to say, pour it into this cup. Right. And I'm going to say, no, just drink it straight from there. And we'll both have valid reasons why.
Do it my way.
We do it the way we do it. Mm-hmm. And I said, so what happens to the followers? Well, the followers gravitate to whatever their culture was, whatever their comfort zone is. Right. And then I said, but this is the problem. We've gotten to a point where those who follow Sylvia think Kevin is wrong.
Isn't that the truth? And you're not.
And
you're
not.
Just different.
I'm just different. And I said, watch how people look at politics. Watch how people look at who makes the best hamburger.
Oh my God, an endless fight.
Right. I said, listen, I'll go back to what I said before. I said, we are more unified as a human element than we are divided. So anyways, I said, the point is leadership is more leader-ish than anything. And I said, we pick and choose what aligns with our agenda. And I said, the goal is to understand that it's okay. And I said, if you read all the comments, you will see that one question gets 50 different answers. Yeah. And while we can pick and choose what's good, we should pick all of it and understand that, okay, I remember this. That must be why they're doing it that way.
Yeah. Let me think about this.
Does that make sense? Yeah. And I said, oh, by the way, I will tell you this. This is a true confession, and I'll wrap it up so you can go do your other mission. I was going through a phase during this podcast where I was being very negative.
Really?
Right? Because you start to learn, tell me I know you would be a subject expert in this one. Someone told me, they said, you want to see who your friends are? Start a business.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I started being like, remember I said, oh, I started a podcast. I know I'll have at least guaranteed 59 subscriptions from my Falcons.
Right.
I guarantee you they're not all subscribed. But I'm supposed to go into a room and smile and hee ha ha and be like, you're not supporting me.
Right.
And what I'm asking for is free.
Yeah.
Right? But it's okay, whatever, right? But that's a hard thing to swallow. And so someone finally reached out to me and said, because they were listening, and they said, that's not the chief that inspires. And someone who was subordinate to me.
Interesting.
They said, that's not what has inspired me to follow you. And she's actually one of my favorite people in this world. And very, very polar opposite politically. Just telling you.
It's me.
It just could be like you, but we are very like-minded though. And I said, we're more the same than you realize.
Yeah, right.
I said, and it's okay. And we can talk, and we can, like me and you, we can talk about it. And I'm not offended. And I'm like, holy crap, I didn't think about that.
Me either.
And hopefully you're like, holy crap, okay.
Yeah, okay.
And then it's like, all right, I like In-N-Out too. And then you move on, right? And so she said, Kevin, I'm sorry, she never says, she refuses to call me Kevin. She's like, Chief. I said, look, I'm retired now. And it's like, no, you're a chief. Okay. It's significant. And
it is.
And she goes, I understand what you're saying. She was like, but that's not why people would line up outside your door. And I was like, And so I created that with a rule for myself that I would never be negative. And it created a vehicle to channel positive energy into feeding this. Mm-hmm. And people were educating me and keeping my saw sharpened. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I was telling people, like, participate. Like, hey, everybody in the back, say something, we talk about bystander training and sexual assaults and this and alcohol and stuff like that. Like you have a story.
Everybody has a story.
You have something. Chime in on occasion. And so my friend had chimed in. I said, dude, I was like, just read it. Yeah. You can see that nothing is leadership no more. It's all leader-ish. It's all leaders. So anyways.
It's interesting that you talk about your 59 other Leadership Las Vegas classmates, and you would think, oh my gosh, they'll all be here for you and with you because it's free, it's fun, and it helps them tell their story. But it's interesting, and I've had to work through this, and I've had to give it up a little bit. But our Dragon class, which is an amazing class of people, and we all really clung to each other and love each other and got together as much as we could throughout the entire class. Plus, now we're going into our second alumni year. We were the last class to have a class project where you had to come up with a class project.
Yeah, we were the first ones that were like, I was like,
yes. You don't have to, right? So everybody's had class projects, and they've all had issues up and down all over the place, and that's why they pretty much made ours the very last forced class project. But at the very beginning, we had an incredibly methodical process. Everybody had a voice. Everybody had an idea. Who do we want to support in the community? What do we want to do after we've learned about where the voids are in the community, where the needs are? Right. Very methodical process from everybody having a voice, paring that down, voting, then paring it down again, then voting, and then raising money to initiate this project. And in 5 minutes, and I'm telling you the truth, Kevin, in 5 minutes, everybody rose their hand, and we raised $20,000 in no time at all at the end of one of our classes. And since then, we've raised enough to do a second year of this. Mm-hmm. And I thought when we initiated the project that everybody would come along, everybody's going to go, everybody's going to be involved. It's going to be our way to stay connected. They're going to come to it. They're going to volunteer their time. They're going to bring their families, all that. Well, we have other volunteers now have joined the effort, which is monthly. But out of 58 class members, we probably have maximum 15 of the 58 that are consistent.
Yeah, I think our ratio is very close.
Yeah. And so I've had to work through that because I was very much involved with the committee that decided this. I was on the committee. I co-chaired the committee of our choice. I was very involved, and I've had to work through and accept the fact that it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people do 80% of the work, and you can't force people. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make them come to your event. You can't make them drink. So some of us have drank the Kool-Aid and some of us haven't, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Our 15 that are consistent are in it. they are present, they're in it, and they dedicate their time, and they bring their families or whatever, and they're involved, and they make it work. And that's okay. So those 15 are the best of the 58 that we've got? No. Everybody's got a story, everybody's got a life, and everybody's got priorities.
Yeah.
Just because this is not the priority for all 58 doesn't make them bad people.
Nope, absolutely not. I think that's why I got comfortable saying this stuff, because I'm like, look, I'm not bad mouthing you. It's the truth.
That's the truth.
And if you feel a certain way about it, then speak your truth on why I feel the way I feel based on observation. Right. I just figured now, based on what you said, I just like, you know what, I'm going to have an artist draw a hybrid dragon falcon in the core 15 of us and the core 15 of you, because that's what you do. Then, you know, you have to go and take those core groups. And I've heard that is a trend. Yeah. You're going to have your core.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And then you just have an all-star team.
Yeah, exactly. And they really are. And so my message for today is, about my cancer journey is being a survivor. Yep. And my husband calls me a do-gooder. Mm-hmm. Because I'm always involved in something. I'm a volunteer in all kinds of ways, whether it's with leadership or whether it's delivering with dignity or serving on boards or committees of other organizations. Right. So I'm okay being a do-gooder, but I think I do it because I was ingrained to be philanthropic, and I was ingrained to be a do-gooder. And so I'm okay with being a do-gooder. So now I have to go drive and deliver food to people in need.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Sylvia, for being you. For making me feel comfortable. I've never really had that conversation with someone that I know. Well, and you started it. You were like, I'm sure you're not on the same side as me. And I think a coward would say, oh, no. And I think that's where we have to be okay as leaders, saying, no, we're not like-minded in this.
Right.
But all this, we are.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a blip.
Yeah.
It's a blip.
And I am so happy. My win is the fact that you actually want to come hang out with me.
I did. It's taken us a while to get here, but I'm so glad I want to come back.
Yeah, I want you to, and we're gonna plug in a time where if I can go be your co-pilot, if you can be Maverick and I'll be Goose.
You betcha.
And we'll get out there on the road, and I want to put some actual, as chief, I had a thing that says less hua, more dua.
I like that.
And I want to do a lot more. And it's always tough, but I always tell people, give me a break. I got all these kids, you know what I mean? I got all these things going on. Yeah. So, at least once a month, get out there and support your community. Right. And you're doing it.
Yeah, I am.
And it was a pleasure for you to be here.
It was my honor.
Is there some kind of dragon call? Like no, Dragonfire. I don't think the Falcons even came up with anything.
It's really hard. A lot of classes have like taglines like
one and one, double the fun, and
double the one, double the fun. The class of 11, the class of 2007. They have their own logo because of 007. They use the James Bond gun as their logo, which is so cool.
Oh man!
And the bees. Who were the bees? The class of 18, they were the bees. So they were the bee's knees. Yeah.
Well, we're going to get masks.
Yeah. Oh, I have a mask. I have a dragon mask. I made dragon masks for everybody.
Did you?
And I forgot to bring it today.
Oh, it's okay.
I have a really cool dragon mask. I made it for the class.
Yeah.
And we sold about 35 of them, out of 58 or 60.
Well, yeah. I'll tell you what, if ever I'm blessed enough to have one, I would. I've been fortunate. People sometimes will bring some little trinkets and stuff like that. Now it's becoming a little shrine.
Well, I would give you mine, but I'm not sure. Well,
no. Make sure you have your mask.
Oh, I do, but I want to show it to you. This is kind of one of my hobbies. There's my mask. What are those? Winning poker hands.
Yes, they are.
Because I play poker.
Do you?
I do.
Oh my gosh.
I do.
I'm not that good at poker, and
I'm pretty darn good.
Oh, well,
I love it.
Well, we'll have to go gamble one day.
Well, let's go gamble.
And you can tell me, are you allowed to cross it? So like in Pai Gow, you're allowed to talk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Poker's a very social game.
Is it? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Pai Gow's fun. I play Pai Gow, but only barely play it because of one of my dragons took me to play Pai Gow, and I went, I don't know what the hell is going on. She said, you play poker, you're going to get it. And I did.
I need to introduce you to Lynn. I call it slow death.
Pai Gow?
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I'm like, we have to lose 15 hands to win a big one just to lose another 15.
So true.
And I don't take losing well. I am a very bad loser.
I'm an okay loser.
And I'll sit there and I'll be like, really? But usually that's with blackjack.
Oh,
So,
blackjack.
you know, I love blackjack, but when I have a 20 and one of my big bets there and they have a 2 showing and they deal themselves a 7-hand 21, I'm like, that's the
What?
3rd time you've did that at the table. So tell me there's not an element of cheating. And you want to believe they're cheating, and I still do think they are, whether they are or not, I don't care.
You know what? When you play against the house is always going to win. And the only game in the entire gaming industry where you don't play against the house is poker.
We do have one house, though, and I'll throw this out there and we'll wrap it up.
What?
Right? There is one house in Vegas where the house usually loses.
Yours?
No, Allegiant Stadium. The Raiders. Thank you.
I'm not with you. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for coming.
You bet.
Hey, everybody. It's KJ. Awesome interview. And thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.